This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show. Young Guns now, my favorite segment of the week with our Young Guns, Jack Avery, Young Republicans of Arkansas chairman, and Rich Products Corporation key account manager, and Josh Blevins, former Young Democrats of Arkansas president and chairman of Blevins Investment Group. Jack and Josh, great to have you here.
Good morning here.
And we're keeping an eye on foreign policy. It is really dominating the news lately in terms of what's going on with ISIS, the Islamic State, the terror group. And we are now hearing that there is yet another American who joined the Islamic State group and has been killed. Earlier this week, we heard of one American who was part of that group that was killed. Now a second American from Minneapolis had joined the network and has been killed. And just to show that the ISIS group is growing, and we're seeing a larger number of Americans being part of this group. I want to ask you first, Josh and Jack, your thoughts on this group that a few months ago that the administration referred to as the JV. Now we're seeing them beheading American journalists. We're seeing a large number of Americans going to join ISIS. Your thoughts on how this is growing and spreading. Josh?
It is amazing how quickly ISIS has spread. You know, it's a group that didn't really exist before the U.S. efforts in Iraq. It has essentially split off from Al Qaeda in the time since then, and it's become very radicalized. And there's not, I mean, even more radicalized than Al Qaeda. There's everybody on every from every political stripe of every that subscribes to every theory, every worldview when it comes to international relations has been surprised by just how quickly ISIS has grown and the popularity that it has taken on with certain elements of the local population. But on the other hand, there's quite a bit of pushback, from Sunnis who say, "Listen, we're not part of ISIS," and then and who don't like being discriminated against by Shias who are lumping everybody into one big group. So there's starting to be, it's a very messy picture on the ground. Jack?
I agree with Josh. It is a nasty picture on the ground, and I think it's also important to note that the State Department estimates that there are over 100 Americans that are over there fighting with some of these militant groups, whether it be ISIS or another militant group. And really, this group, ISIS, ISIL, whatever you want to call them, to me, they're acting like a bunch of criminals. And bottom line, they're criminals. They all they want is money, and if they don't want money, then they end up killing somebody. They almost make Tony Soprano look like a teddy bear.
Right.
They have no respect for life whatsoever.
And the White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest was asked about the growing number of people joining the Islamic State terror group. And here's Josh Earnest talking about the concerns they have about the group growing and many Americans being part of it.
There are thousands of foreign fighters from more than 50 countries, or up to 50 countries, who have traveled to Syria to take up arms alongside ISIL. We are very concerned about the risk that those individuals pose to the 50 countries from which they traveled.
And that's the concern, Jack, the countries from which they travel, because if they leave one country and are radicalized even further, they could go back to their country of origin and commit a terrorist act, and some of these are coming from America. So your thoughts on the fact that Americans are leaving here, becoming more radicalized, and possibly returning?
I think it is a very clear and present danger. I saw last weekend, or maybe it was the weekend before last, a friend sent me an article that somebody that was affiliated with ISIS took a picture of a building in Chicago and tweeted it out. So that tells me that there are folks that agree with this criminal radical organization already here in the United States. And we need to be sure we're diligent in identifying these folks and making sure that we are watching them very, very closely.
Josh?
That's the exact same thing that the former vice chair of the 9/11 Commission said on Wednesday. You've been talking about how we were caught unawares when Al Qaeda obviously launched the attacks of September 11, and he said, listen, we need to pay close attention to ISIS and not underestimate their capabilities. And I think I think he's exactly correct.
And the frightening thing is we have ISIS or ISIL, depending on what day it is, committing these acts, beheading journalists and holding Americans hostage over there now. And our administration has made it clear that they do not negotiate with terrorists. While we have one American journalist, Steve Sotloff, who is being held, and his mother is understandably absolutely beside herself, and she made a video yesterday pleading with his captors to release him. And here is sound from Shirley Sotloff. She is the mother of captured American journalist Steven Sotloff, who she wants to return home safely.
I've learned that Islam teaches that no individual should be held responsible for the sins of others. Steven has no control over the actions of the U.S. government. He's an innocent journalist. I've always learned that you, the Caliph, can grant amnesty. I ask you to please release my child.
Josh, that's just heartbreaking. Your thoughts?
It is heartbreaking. It's clear that that Sotloff's mother is probably being advised by some of the best folks in the business in terms of dealing, with fundamentalist terrorists, and it's completely heartbreaking.
Jack?
I agree with Josh. When I saw that, I realized that this Steven Sotloff guy is pretty much the same age as me and Josh. I thought to myself, man, that could be my mom. Or that could be any of my friends that are over there serving with the United States military's mom. And my gut just absolutely dropped. It's a terrible situation that Sotloff's parents are in right now. Absolutely terrible.
And ideally, we want to get them home. And we saw yesterday another captured American who returned home to his mother, and it was great to see him in his happy homecoming. And let's all just pray that the same happens with Sotloff. We're going to take a break, and we will discuss more politics of the day with our young guns, Jack Avery and Josh Blevins. Right after this break, we'd love for you to follow us on Facebook, The Alice Stewart Show, or Twitter, Alice Stewart 965, or Alice Tweet. Also, if you are away from your radio, you can listen online at 965thevoice.com. We'll be back. This segment of The Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing, 1-866-PLUMBER, or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.